So if your phone rings, you'll be the person that thought, it's already on vibrate. Nobody's going to call me. So this might be a good time to really do this. Because in my parents' generation, they don't remember if the phone's on, right? Okay. Baruch Dayan Ha'amet, we praise the Judge of Truth. Begin with Psalm 121. A beautiful psalm for a person who liked to be out with animals and to be outside. Asa Einai El Haharim Me'ayin Yavo Ezri. Ezri Me'im Adonai, Oseh Shemayim Va'aretz. Al Yiten Lamot Raglecha, Al Yanum Shomrecha. Hine Lo Yanum Velo Yishan Shomer Yisrael. Adonai Shomrecha, Adonai Tzilcha Al Yad Yeminecha. Yomam Hashemesh Lo Ekaka, Be'arech Belayla. Adonai Yishmarcha Mikol Ra Yishmoret Nafshecha. Adonai Yishmar Tzilcha Vuecha, Me'ata V'ad Olam. I lift my eyes to the mountains, from whence cometh my help. My help comes from the Lord, maker of heaven and earth. The Lord will not let your foot give way. Your protector will not slumber. See, the protector of Israel neither slumbers nor sleeps. The Lord is your guardian. He is your protection at your right hand. The sun will not strike you by day, nor the moon by night. The Lord will guard you from all harm. He will guard your soul. You're going and you're coming, now and forever. Death has taken our beloved Elayne Yelsky, our beloved Cookie. Friends grieve in their darkened world. In their silence there is lamentation. In their tears there is loneliness. Lost in their sorrow may they find the presence of loving friends. Hear them, O God, and be with them. For Cookie's love that united many people in life and which death cannot sever. For her companionship that we shared along life's path and which continues through the tenderness of memory. For the gifts of her heart and mind that brought joy and happiness and is now a precious remembrance. For all of these and more, we give our thanks to God. It is a time of grief, profound grief. And so we listen once again to the voice of our sacred scriptures from Sefer Tehillim, from the book of Psalms. It tells us of our kinship with the Creator, in light as in darkness, in joy as in sorrow, in life as in death. Together let us recite the 23rd Psalm in English. The Lord is my shepherd, I shall not want. He maketh me to lie down in green pastures. He leadeth me beside the still waters. He restoreth my soul. He guideth me in straight paths for his name's sake. Yea, though I walk through the valley of the shadow of death, I will fear no evil, for thou art with me. Thy rod and thy staff, they comfort me. Thou preparest a table before me in the presence of mine enemies. Thou hast anointed my head with oil. My cup runneth over. Surely goodness and mercy shall follow me all the days of my life, and I shall dwell in the house of the Lord forever. And from Ecclesiastes chapter 3. L'kol zman ve'et l'chol chafetz tachat hashamayim. For everything there is a season, a time for every experience under heaven, a time to be born and a time to die, a time to plant and a time to uproot what is planted, a time to tear down and a time to build up, a time to weep and a time to laugh, a time to grieve and a time to dance, a time to throw stones and a time to gather stones, a time to embrace and a time to refrain from embracing, a time to seek and a time to lose, a time to keep and a time to discard, a time to tear and a time to sow, a time to keep silence and a time to speak. We gather a solemn assembly to lay to rest the body of your dear Elayne Yelsky. It has been a long and arduous journey. Her Hebrew name was Esther Bat Yaakov Malka. Esther is the whole book of Esther, the Purim story. And Esther means star girl, basically. When we think of books and literature, the classics of world literature may be characterized as either comedies or tragedies. And of the two, the one that evokes a more enthusiastic response is comedies. Life is a burst of laughter, it's a primrose path, there's the joy of success, much exuberance, and many happy days. Tragedies, however, are generally regarded as superior and have more enduring worth. Here, life is depicted as the struggle it is. Many hopes and things that are unfulfilled, aspirations, desperation. In tragedies, you have the yearning for the future and much disillusionment. There are fears and anxieties, moments of deep anguish and broken hearts. These are intermittently studded with some refreshment or an oasis with a big, beautiful palm tree, but the view remains mostly one of quiet solemnity and difficulty. Works of tragedy are great because despite the heavy burden of life, and in this case it was a very heavy burden, the human spirit shines forth. Irrepressibly, a woman rises from the wreckage, which envelops her to build again hopes for a brighter tomorrow. And this remarkable capacity of the human spirit to resist despair, to not be overpowered by frustration, this resiliency of spirit brings us to have an overwhelming admiration. And today we are completing the book of a woman's life. Within its chapters are many, many painful moments that would have crushed the spirits of lesser women. This is a book of tragedy, and it's also a classic because of Cookie's irrepressible spirit and her capacity to turn these great difficulties into instruments to help others. Cookie Nyman was born in Cleveland on March 28th, 1937. Her parents of blessed memory, Jack and Molly raised 5 children. She was the baby. Firstborn Claire All of them are of blessed memory now. Claire, Leonard, Sissy, Judy, and Cookie. Growing up in Kinsman, for a time the family was Orthodox. It was a tough neighborhood. Her father, Jack, died when Cookie was only 5 years old. The Nymans moved to Shaker Heights, and she went to Shaker Heights High School and graduated in 1955. Cookie and Leonard met through a friend of his, Paul Sipser. Paul was one of Leonard's friends. It was a Heights Tiger buddy. Leonard and Cookie were married June 9th, 1957. The wedding and the party were at Uncle Joe and Aunt Sylvia Nyman's house. Then they moved down to Columbus for Leonard to finish law school. Their firstborn, Judy, was born in Columbus. There have been many ups and downs. They took good care of each other for almost 59 years at the time of Leonard's death in 2016. Lauren said, something you don't see all the time with married couples, I mean, even with all the ups and downs. Our parents actually liked each other, even through the difficulties. They liked each other. There have been many blessings of family. 4 children and 3 grandchildren. Judy, Mitchell married to Finette, Jeff married to Eva, Lauren, and the grandchildren, Sky, Jacob, and Zoe. Mitchell and Jeff recalled that their mother was really kind of a classic 1960s, 1970s Jewish mother. And they recalled how it was just never a quiet moment in that house with all of those kids and with their friends and with their family visitors. Don't even have to mention the animals all over. And it was just never a quiet moment. But that wasn't a bad thing. It's just what it was. In addition to that, the door was open because their friends were always welcome to come over. And if you were a friend and you needed a place to stay because it was a difficult time for you and your family, the door was open. Cookie would make space available. They remembered with fondness the Kaplan cousins. They would come in from Detroit every summer, it seemed, and they would go up and visit them up in Michigan. And when Cookie was healthy, apparently she made a great stuffed cabbage. But nobody could. Do you say it was the latkes? The blintzes. Nobody has yet been able to master the blintzes. Of whose blintzes? Molly Nyman. Somebody's got to do it. No, somebody has to work to do it. Somebody should work to do it. You know, whether we're celebrating or whether we're commemorating, laughing or crying, you know, the food is an important part. Leonard and Cookie loved horses. In 1966, apparently they picked up and moved out to Moreland Hills. I think probably many in the family thought, you know, just Meshuggah. What are they, you know, Jews, you're living in Shaker Heights or University Heights or wherever you're living, Moreland Hills? And they moved out there, and the hobby of Arabian horses now became a business. It was a dream of theirs, and they did it. They loved those horses. And they loved dogs and other animals as well. As you well know, she has suffered the debilitating effects of MS for many years. And these past 18 years especially have been very tough. And Cookie kept a positive attitude the best she could. Profound thanks to Judy and Lauren because of your loving hands. Your mom's difficulties were eased. After a long battle, Cookie breathed her last. And so now there is no more pain or deterioration of her body. There's just rest and wholeness and peace. Her soul is returning to God and to be with the souls of her dear husband, relatives, siblings, parents, friends, and the ancestors of our people. We learn this in Ecclesiastes chapter 12, verse 7. The dust returns to the earth as it was. The spirit returns to God who gave it. One day all of us will join our dear ones in Olam Haba, the world to come. The world to come is an eternal time. It's not a place. This is a place, and the body is being buried in a place. Olam Haba is a spiritual existence, and we will be together with our loved ones in that time. We have sent along a prayer book with her in the casket, because not only is it a mitzvah to escort your loved one to her final resting place, but also to provide respectful burial for holy books of our tradition. Your memories are filled to overflowing with thoughts of Cookie, and we give thanks to God for this gift of life. 82 years. There have been many times of joy and many times of difficulty and sadness. As you think of Cookie, try to be kinder and more helpful to others. Try to console one another with kind words and hugs. No matter how much you hurt, you should know that there are others hurting as well, and words of kind consolation help each and every person. Maybe you can spend some time with the horses. I don't know where you can find horses, but if you can find some horses, spend some time with the horses. It's nice. You can do this in her loving memory. Got to be some horses out there. And then do these things in her loving memory. For only through the deeds which we perform can the world be compensated for her loss. And so we say words from the first chapter of the book of Job. We conclude with these words. Adonai Natan v'Adonai Lakach, Yehi Shem Adonai Mevorach. The Lord hath given, the Lord hath taken away. Blessed be the name of the Lord. Amen. Ose shalom bimromav, hu ya'aseh shalom aleinu, ve'al kol Yisrael, ve'imru yimru amen. Ya'aseh shalom, ya'aseh shalom, shalom aleinu, ve'al kol Yisrael, ya'aseh shalom, ya'aseh shalom, shalom aleinu, ve'al kol Yisrael. May God, who causes peace to reign in the high heavens, cause peace to rain down upon us, upon all Israel, and upon the soul of our dearly departed Cookie Yelsky. And let us say, Amen. Please let us rise for El Maleh Rachamim. Yes. Oh, yes. Please be seated. No, of course, that's all right.
Rabbi Matt is always here for me and my family, so thank you so much for all those very sweet and kind words, Rabbi Matt. Not only is he our rabbi, he is our very dear friend. And I'm going to try to be brief, but I first, on both my behalf and on my brother and sister's behalf, and Finette and my children and Sky, all of your text messages and phone calls, we appreciate that, letting us know that we were in your thoughts and your prayers. That did mean a lot to us. And those of you who have shared remembrances and stories of our mother, thank you again. We had, and I'm going to try not to repeat too much of what Rabbi Matt said, but
I know you were talking. I would have.
no, it's all great. It wasn't all the tragedy. There's a lot of comedy there. We had the most amazing and supportive mother, and she was the smartest lady ever. And with the passing of Cookie Yelsky, my family, my brother and sisters and I, and my cousins, the Nymans and the Kaplans and the Flanks, we really truly do turn the page. A generation has literally passed, and they gave us so much. So go back about 53 years, and I'm this little 5-year-old boy going to Mercer School in Shaker Heights, like all good little 5-year-old Jewish boys are supposed to do. And the next thing I know, I wake up and I'm living in the forest. Because in 1966, like Rabbi Matt said, Mom and Dad moved us out to Moreland Hills, and let me tell you, it was like moving to another country in 1966. At that time, I was the middle child. Judy, as Rabbi said, was born in Columbus, and Jeffrey followed me a mere 16 months later. And so one day I wake up and I'm in the forest. There's no sidewalks, there's no neighbors, and the next thing I know, my mother, Cookie, she comes home from the hospital with this beautiful little baby. I can remember this tiny little face of our dearest little sister, Lauren. And that is where the story begins. We had our dog, Ollie, in Shaker Heights, and he got to move out to the forest with us too. But it was not long before Missy the pregnant cat showed up, and we had our first litter of kittens, which was a wonderment. It wasn't not much long after that my parents bought their first horse, a beautiful chestnut mare named Misty Min. And it wasn't long after that until they bought their second horse, a beautiful dapple gray mare named Zadie, who happened to be pregnant when my parents bought her, and we had our first foal out there. It was an amazing wonderment to witness and behold. And somehow the dogs began to accumulate and the cats began to accumulate. And the third horse we got was the best horse we ever had. Our little, beautiful Shetland pony, Poco pony, who lived probably to over 40 years, was part of the family. And as this all starts to happen, I wake up one morning and I'm like, this is like Green Acres, man. I mean, the gentleman farmer with his beautiful bride, except for one big difference, and this is a huge difference. My mother, Cookie Yelsky, was so much more beautiful and charming and elegant and witty than Zsa Zsa Gabor ever could dream of being. Cookie was half Hungarian from our Grandma Molly's side. My mother would always say, you can tell a lot about a person by the way they treat animals, because to raise animals, it takes dedication and kindness and love and care. You have to put these animals before yourself because they just can't care for themselves. And my mother was all of that and then some. She was caring and loving and compassionate, and she was beautiful. And as Rabbi Matt said, her door was always open. Nobody was ever turned away. As Jeffrey and I got a a little older, into our teens, we were confined to the basement and the kitchen and the outdoors, but the house was always open. And throughout all of this, they gave us the best childhood. Cookie Yelsky supported her husband, my father, in every way imaginable, and every way a wife could support a husband, from when he was in law school to his burgeoning law career, to his family, and to their avocation of horses, which turned into a full working professional stable. And during all of this, she somehow found the time to be the PTA president in Orange Schools, and ended up running a full-on professional working farm, and that she had the respect and admiration of everybody she dealt with, from the veterinarians and the blacksmiths to the highest levels of the breeders and the trainers, to the lowliest schlappadicka barn hands, many of whom were indentured to the forest by Elayne Yelsky to put up fences and paint fences and fix fences and shovel stalls, because some of these miscreants were in need of my father's legal services, and he found a way to get them to pay through their hard work in the forest at the farm. You have so many memories when you lose a parent. You know, I don't want to bore anybody, but some memories. My mother took us to see the band Chicago at Blossom Music Center, and I remember that vividly. And my mother took us to the front row to see Sammy Davis Jr., and I remember that vividly. She had to drag my father along, but he had to go because he was the guy with the tickets, and he had to drive. She did not have to schlep Elayne Yelsky along to see Frank Sinatra at the inaugural event at the Richfield Coliseum, and they loved that night, spoke about it many times. So her love of music and those early concerts, it really influenced me throughout my life. But Cookie had her limits. It was 1975, and the Rolling Stones were coming to the Cleveland Municipal Stadium, and I'm 14 years old, and I wanted to go so bad. Billy Preston with the big hair. Goat's Head Soup album had just come out, and she said, Mitchie, honey, Mitchie, you're only 14. It's too dangerous for you down there. You can't go. But Judy got to go with my cousin Jimmy and my cousin Michael. I didn't. I had to stay home. My mother always knew what was best for me and for all of us. For me, I graduated Arizona State University, and I arrived home from college, and the first thing I learned when I got home was I was enrolled in the Stanley Kaplan LSAT review class so I could get into law school. So thank you, Mom, for always keeping me focused and on task, and for always knowing what was good for me. I love you so much, and we all love you so much. You know, when you start thanking people, you risk forgetting people, so nobody's meant to be forgotten here, but there are a few people that I want to acknowledge, all of you, for being here. Thank you all so much. My mother was the apple of her family's eye. Her sisters and her brother, they loved her so much, and it was a beautiful, beautiful thing to see, because you don't see that all the time. It was lovely, and they had each other's backs through thick and thin. When my mother's disease first started to present a little bit, she wasn't able to drive anymore, but she was still smart as a tack and beautiful and charming. My mother always had an opinion. It was a very strong opinion. Abby Burnham Nyman came into our family's life to get my mother to her weekly hair appointments and to get her nails done at 10 and Tan anytime she wanted, and to get my mother to her luncheons. And Abby and Cookie had no shortages of fun and lunches at Giovanni's. And God works in mysterious ways because we come full circle with Abby and my cousin Michael Nyman being together, which we are also blessed for. Their son Jack Nyman, my second cousin, to carry on my mother's father's name, Jack Nyman. So we're very thankful for that. Want to let everybody here know, most of you don't know my mother's caregiver, Janice Sims, who came into my mother's life as a caregiver but became a very close companion and a friend. And Janice provided my mother with a lot of care and companionship, with tenderness and compassion and love. And Janice has lost a very dear friend. So let's not forget that. Just want to tell my niece Sky that when Sky arrived on the scene and started to grow up, Sky brought a breath of youth and beauty into my mother's life. My niece Sky is a very talented artist and a very accomplished flautist and piccoloist. And she filled the house with art and beauty and music and made my mother so happy. My father said to me many times, I married your mother so you wouldn't be short like me. So thank you, Mom, for the legs. And I've told this to my daughter, Zoe, and my niece, Sky, so many times. You have your grandma Cookie to thank for this. I said, girls, tall and slender is not a bad way to go through life. And that's all because of our really beloved mother, Cookie. I'm going to wrap it up here in a minute. My brother Jeffrey and my sisters Judy and Lauren, you gave our mom the family that she and Leonard always really wanted. She was very proud of each and every one of you. And thank you all again for being here today. My cousins and my family always say I'm the weeper. I try not to cry at these things, but the tears do percolate up, and it's only a reflection of just how much we're losing on the other side, the love and the tenderness and everything my mother meant to me, and everybody's mother's special. I must now say goodbye. So just give me a minute to get myself together here, Mom. Thought I had this down, guys. My mother, forgot to tell you, she loved Neil Diamond so much. She loved Neil Diamond more than Frank Sinatra. And music was always there. I remember the Neil Diamond, that Hot August Night album, was always out and playing. She loved that album, and that Carly Simon album. It was a soundtrack of my early teens. So, Mom, I'm going to say goodbye. Elayne Rose, my Cracklin' Rosie. Sleep tight.
And to those words, let us say Amen. Please rise for El Maleh Rachamim. Into your care, O God, we entrust the spirit of our dear Elayne Rose Yelsky, our dear Cookie Yelsky. For you keep faith with your children in death as in life. Sustain us that we may meet with serenity the mysteries that lie ahead, knowing that when we walk through the valley of the shadow of death, You, O God, are with us, a loving friend in whom we put our trust. You are the light of our life, our hope in eternity. El Maleh Rachamim, Shochein Bamromim, Hametzem Nucha Nechona, Tachat Kanfei HaShchina, Im Kedoshim U'Tohorim, Kezohar HaKiyam Asirim, Et Nishmat Esther Ben Yaakov V'Malka Shahalach L'Olama Ba'al Harachamim Yastirei B'Seter Knafav L'Olamim Vayitzro B'Tzor HaChaim Et Nishmata Adonai Hu Nachalata V'Tanuach B'Shalom Al Mishkava V'Nomar Amen. Compassionate God, Eternal Spirit of the universe, grant perfect rest in your sheltering presence to our dear Cookie Yelsky. She has entered eternity. O God of mercy, let her find refuge in the shadow of your wings, and let her soul be bound up in the bond of everlasting life. God is her inheritance. May she rest in peace, and let us say, Amen. The gentlemen will come forward and we will go in procession to Mount Olive Cemetery. You should know that if you care to make donations in Cookie's loving memory, the family has asked that you consider first among the places, contribute to the fundraiser to help halt Jeff's MS. There are details on the Berkowitz-Kumin website, www.bkbmc.com. When we get to the grave, of course, we'll recite Kaddish, and we will go back to the house of Mike and Abby's house, and we'll recite Kaddish there again and gather for the mourner's meal. Family will be there tonight until about 8 o'clock, and tomorrow from 1 until 7:30. We'll recite Kaddish for Cookie every Friday night for the next 4 weeks, every Wednesday afternoon when we have Hebrew school with the kids, and every Sunday when we've got religious school for the kids, we'll recite Kaddish for her over the course of the next month. And this concludes our service here at the funeral home, and we'll go in procession to Mount Olive.